Okay, so it's 2:30. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this Corporate Scrutiny Committee on the 14th of September. I'd like to hand, first of all, over to Steve Taylor, the committee clerk, to talk about procedure and do the name and sound checks. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Chairman. This meeting is being held under the recent government regulations brought in to allow for remote meetings to take place and to allow for decisions to be made. Hopefully those present will hear the meeting. However, in the event of a technical failure, the Chairman will adjourn the meeting and set a new time to reinstate the meeting. Please note the meeting is being recorded and a copy of the recording will be available on the Council's YouTube channel in the next few days. All members of the committee should have their video on but will remain muted until invited to speak. If you wish to attract the Chairman's attention, please make use of the instant messaging function. All members of the press and public will remain muted unless they are registered to speak, and the Chairman will let them know when they can make their representations. The format of the meeting will be as per the agenda published. I will now ask each council officer who is taking part in the meeting to introduce themselves and confirm that they can see and or hear me before we start the official business of the committee. So first of all, Councillor Bruce.
Yes, hello, I'm the Councillor for Bridgewater Fairfax and I can confirm that I can see and hear everything clearly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Dyer? No Councillor Dyer. Councillor Filmer?
Yeah, I'm Councillor Bob Filmer, the member for the Knoll Ward, and yes, I can hear and see you, Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Finneran?
Good afternoon, Steve. Yes, Paul Finneran, Ward Councillor for Cheddar and Shipham. I can hear and see you fine. Thank you.
Councillor Grimes?
Yes, I can see and hear everything. Councillor Tony Grimes from Peru. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hendry?
Sedgemoor District Councillor Alistair Hendry for Burnham Sea Central, and yes, I can hear and see everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lilly?
Hi, Councillor Rachel Lilly here, Ward Councillor for the Wyndham Ward. I can see and hear everything. Thank you.
Councillor Revens?
Good afternoon, Mr. Taylor. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, colleagues. Councillor Bill Revens, representing North Petherton Ward. Thank you.
Councillor Smedley?
Yes, Councillor Brian Smedley for the Westover Ward of Bridgewater, chairing this meeting. I can hear and see everything.
Okay, Rose Stokes?
Rose Stokes, Scrutiny Officer, and I can confirm I can see and hear everything.
Thank you, Rose. Dorothy O'Farrell?
Good afternoon, Legal Advisor to the Committee. I confirm I can see and hear everything.
And Stuart Howlett?
Thanks, Steve. I'm Stuart Howlett. I'm the Assistant Director for Inward Investment and Growth here at Sedgemoor, and that covers both planning and economic development functions, and I can see and hear everything. Thank you.
And I'll now hand back to the Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Can I now take any apologies for absence?
Yes, Chairman. Apologies from Councillor Sue Barber and Councillor Liz Levy.
Okay, thank you. To confirm the minutes of the meeting of the previous two committees now, that's November and February. I can't physically sign them, but does anybody have any problems with me signing them non-physically? That looks like no, so that's approved then, Steve. So however you'd like to go through the council procedures, they're now approved minutes. In terms of urgent business, I have none. I don't believe there's any. In terms of public speaking, I understand there's two public speakers who I would wish to take during the body of the item that they want to make representation to. And have we confirmed that they're present, by the way, Mr. Taylor?
I will just do so now. Helen Phillips, are you there? Hello, Helen. Can you hear us?
Yes, hello there. Helen Phillips from Wilstock. Thank you. I can hear you. I can't see anything, of course.
That's fine. Thank you, Helen. And
thank you.
Also, Julian Taylor. Hello, Julian. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, but it's most unfortunate that we're not able to see you because we do like to see facial expressions. Can you hear me?
I can indeed, Julian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Is there any particular reason why we can't be seen?
Contributors, I'll ask them to speak when we come to that item on the agenda. Could I first take any declarations of interest from members present? I reckon that's none, is it? So in that case, let's move on to the main item of the agenda, which is item number 6, which is Infrastructure Delivery Task and Finish Group. Now this came about obviously because of a motion that went to full council some time ago now from councillors Wong and Riches, and as a result of that recommendation we set up a task and finish group which has met 3 times before this whole COVID thing hit us. 2 of those meetings were just members and officers, and the 3rd meeting involved representatives from the public, parish and various campaigners. We also had Lynn Basford at one of the meetings, who was a Somerset consultant, talking about the enabling project, which has been referred to. The findings and some recommendations that come out of those meetings are before you today, as are all the other items discussed. We've got officers present today, primarily Stuart Howlett. We've also, I believe, should have a portfolio holder in the building. If not, then not to worry. We also have a very late submission from the County Council from Mike O'Dowd-Jones, the Strategic Commissioning Manager, Highways and Transport, which has meant that we slightly changed the recommendation in the light of that, but we can discuss that later. So you've seen the lines of inquiry
and good connections with University of Bath. We've got a University of West of England. We've got Bristol University. We've got Exeter University, who are now working with Bridgewater and Taunton College on delivery of Institute of Technology. So we, our ambition is to obviously explore and promote those existing skills, infrastructure and network to young people, and attract them to obviously stay in the area, other than focus on the ambition or idea that we don't know if and when will be delivered. And also the problem we've got with young people in Sedgemoor, in Somerset area, actually, is not that they don't go to university because we don't have one. They do. The trouble is attracting them to come back after they finish university. So having university in Somerset doesn't necessarily mean that they will stay after university. They may go to university here and still go away. It's creating the jobs that they will want to come back for.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Revens, does that answer your question? Do you want to come back on any of it?
Yes, I obviously welcome further developments on the university issue. I do think should County Hall in Taunton not be available, that would be an excellent building for a university.
Okay, thank you. Does any other member wish to raise any points on this item? Councillor Bruce.
Hi, it was about one of the aspirations about business. Point 10 on the business says support businesses to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and increase energy efficiency. Does that also include voluntary organisations, community organisations, etc.? We're just talking about businesses.
The expectation would be yes.
I would like to see that expanded a little bit in the aspirations, to see that included.
Okay, I'm sure we can look at how we do that. But yes, no, certainly, the third sector is a really important part of our economy as well. So it definitely gets covered up by the strategy. But perhaps the slide probably wasn't as inclusive as it should have been. But we'll certainly review that with Kinga afterwards and make sure that it's clear.
Lovely, thank you.
Okay, does anybody else like to ask anything at this point? Councillor Filmer.
Thanks, Chairman. It was just a quick query, and to some extent, I know it's not answerable in the sense of where we're going with unitary, but do we have any view as to how our economic strategy fits with either those of Taunton or those of County, as to how, depending on how things move forward, how they mix together and protect the benefits to Sedgemoor as well as taking things forward for the other areas for themselves?
Yes, we do. I mean, in terms of the business case for the West Somerset Unitary, the fact that we're very linked with Somerset West and Taunton functionally, we form part of the same functional and economic market area. We're also part of the M5 growth corridor, is very key. So yes, there are lots of synergies that way. In terms of the county council, well, the county council is a larger authority than us, so our strategy links into their strategy, which then links into the LEP and the emerging sort of industrial strategy, local industrial strategy, which then links into the national picture as well. So it's all joined up. There shouldn't be anything contradictory in terms of it. I think that the one thing that the Sedgemoor one does, it dwells upon some of the specific opportunities we've got, like Hinckley and Gravity in particular, which is key. Kinga may want to add to that.
Yes, we in drafting of this strategy, we slightly changed the approach. So the strategy is not sector or location specific. So actually, those ambitions and those aspirations can be applied to a wider geography.
Chairman, if I could just come back on that, it was just, I think it's really positive that if we can get this adopted now, then hopefully we're setting the direction for whoever we're working with. We can put them in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. Is anybody else like to ask any questions? Otherwise, quite happy to take Councillor Filmer's suggestion to adopt as a recommendation towards executive, if you'd like that. Fine. Is there a seconder for that?
I'll second it, Brian. It's Rachel Lilly.
Rachel, okay, sorry, couldn't see you there. Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. Any contrary viewpoint to that? Otherwise, we'll go to the vote on that if we need to. Mr. Taylor, do you feel we need to take a vote on that, or can we just accept that?
I think we can probably accept that, Chairman.
Right, there's nobody seems to be to the contrary. So thank you very much for those presentations today, for that aspirational document, and certainly very important for the future role of wherever Sedgemoor is in a few years' time. Thank you. Let's take the final item on the agenda today, which is the Corporate Scrutiny Work Programme. I'm going to hand over to Rose Stokes now to take us through that. Rose.
Thank you. So just to go through the upcoming work programme, I will be going on maternity leave in the middle of October, so I won't be at the committee in November, but we are at the moment doing work to finalise a report for that. So that's on the motion, which was asking for a review of the procedure for council meetings. So we've been doing a lot of research into the points of the motion, and also sending out surveys so that we can understand what the sort of appetite and opinions are out there. So, and there will be an updated one that will be coming out in the next few weeks, just so that we can understand what sort of how councillors are getting on with virtual meetings, so that we can look at that alongside the results, which were all before all the COVID-19 restrictions came in. In January, we've then got the budget strategy, and we're also looking at doing a item on the COVID-19 response and focusing on 3 different areas. So at the moment, one of those we've talked about could be antisocial behaviour, and then we were going to look at a couple more areas of the COVID response to focus on at the Joint Committee along with the budget. If there are any suggestions for topics that anybody has, or on the COVID response that they think would be useful at the Joint Committee, then can either sort of let me know now, or you could always email me afterwards if there's anything else that you think of.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I'd like to ask members if there are any other suggestions for topics. November seems maybe a light meeting. Can I ask personally that I think the town fund project that we've been Sedgemoor have been charged with overseeing during these past 6 to 9 months hasn't had very much light of day in any form of scrutiny or council meetings generally. I wonder if we could have some information about that, particularly where we are with it and how council has been handling that. Would people be okay with that as a topic that came forward?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for that. Any other items that people would like us to consider maybe at the November meeting? Otherwise, the January one is quite an important and full one, I think, already with budgetary factors and COVID. Any other suggestions from anybody? In which case, Rose, if you could factor in those items that we've just outlined now, I think that can form your workload up to your maternity leave. Okay, so I think that's the end of the meeting today. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for all the work everybody's put into this. Okay, I declare the meeting closed.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you,
Brian.
Thank you.